In the heart of the wilderness, a man bravely intervenes to save a woman from the deadly grip of a snakebite. As the tension of the moment fades, he uncovers a shocking truth. She is the heiress to a vast fortune. And there were Now, with danger behind them, she clings to him, refusing to part ways, and their fates become entwined in ways neither could have anticipated. The venom coursed through his veins like a wildfire, relentless and unforgiving. "You have to stay with me," he urged, desperation lacing his voice as time slipped away. Jasper's voice cut through the chaos, steady and urgent, a firm anchor in the swirling fog of panic. "What are you planning to do with those leaves? Will I meet my end?" Eleanor gasped, her breath coming in short, sharp bursts, her eyes wide with terror as searing pain surged up her leg, a fiery torrent coursing through her veins. At times, Jasper would linger in silence, his response hanging in the air like a thick fog, waiting to be pierced by the sound of his voice. With a deftness born of experience, his hands worked tirelessly, grinding the dark green leaves between his fingers until they yielded a rich, aromatic sap that oozed forth, thick and earthy. He pressed the cloth firmly against the puncture wound just above her ankle, a stark reminder of the snake's terrifying strike just moments before. "This will help slow the venom," he whispered, urgency lacing his voice. "Focus on me. Don't let yourself slip away." Eleanor's fists sank into the cool earth, a desperate attempt to ground herself as the herbal poultice seared against her skin, the pain threatening to unleash a scream that clawed at her throat. Her heart raced, a relentless drumbeat that eclipsed the whispers of the forest enveloping them. Her mind spun in a whirlwind of disbelief. What began as a simple solo trek quickly transformed into something far more profound. A weekend meant for testing her limits, for purging the chaos of her mind, and for breaking free from the suffocating confines of her life in Portland. She had delved deep into the lore of the trail, her preparations painstakingly thorough, yet no amount of research or equipment could have steeled her for the reality that lay ahead. A venomous snakebite, far removed from civilization, where cell service was nothing but a distant memory. Now, I found myself in the hands of a stranger, who emerged from the trees like a wraith of the wilderness, ready to confront the peril that threatened my very life. Jasper's gaze locked onto hers, his dark brows knitting together in a storm of emotion. His eyes held a fierce intensity, softened by a warmth that spoke of kindness, etched with the marks of sun and the passage of time. "Breathe," he urged, his voice steady yet urgent, as he reached into the small leather satchel slung across his chest. With a swift motion, he revealed a small vial, filled with a shadowy liquid, the cork popping free with a soft sigh. He extended it toward her, an invitation laced with mystery. "Take this potion. Though it stings with a harshness, it holds the promise of healing." Eleanor paused, her heart racing, before finally grasping it with quivering fingers. The flavor was as repugnant as he had foretold, a grotesque blend of bark, metal, and an essence that felt as if it had been plucked from the depths of time itself. Yet she swallowed it back, battling the rising tide within her. She was cornered, with no escape in sight. Her leg throbbed with a fierce intensity, swelling rapidly as the pain escalated, and the world around her began to blur and spin at the edges. Her voice cut through the air like a jagged whisper. Jasper stood at the edge of the world, the weight of his name echoing in the silence around him. "Jasper Hale," he murmured, his gaze fixed on the ground as he deftly plucked more herbs from a nearby bush. "I reside in this remote expanse, far from the clutches of civilization. Fortune smiled upon you the moment I stepped into the shadows. As I ventured into the wilderness, the trail beckoned me forward. I stood at the edge of the precipice, the wind howling around me like a chorus of lost souls. Below, the abyss yawned wide, a dark void that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. My heart raced, each beat echoing in my ears as I peered into the depths, uncertainty clawing at my mind. The world behind me faded, the familiar sounds of life replaced by an eerie silence that wrapped around me like a shroud. In that moment, I was suspended between fear and exhilaration, teetering on the brink of the unknown, ready to leap into the shadows that awaited. What lay beyond was a mystery, but the call of adventure was irresistible, pulling me closer to the edge. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come, knowing that this was just the beginning of a journey that would change everything. Her words tumbled out, thick and tangled, like a fog rolling in over a darkened landscape. Her head hung limply to one side, a haunting stillness enveloping her. "No, no, no," Jasper exclaimed, his voice cutting through the air as he rushed back to her side. He brushed his finger softly against her cheek. "Eleanor, is that you? Is that truly your name? I caught a glimpse of it on the tag nestled within your pack. Eleanor, don't leave my side." With a determined blink, she willed her eyes to open wide. "You rummaged through my belongings? In my quest to uncover your name, I assure you, I am no thief." His tone was devoid of emotion, grounded in reality. "Now, remain perfectly still. A delicate cut must be made, precise and careful, as the moment hangs in the air, charged with anticipation." Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. "Hold on, what just happened?" No, there were no knives in sight. "It's either this or the venom continues to spread," Jasper declared, his voice laced with urgency. With a swift motion, he drew a small, sterilized blade from the depths of his bag. "Only a fleeting wound. I must find a way to release the mounting tension and let go of what I can no longer hold inside. Everything will be fine." She whimpered as the cold blade grazed her skin, yet she remained resolute, refusing to pull away. Her hand plunged into the earth, fingernails clawing at the rough bark and gritty soil. My heart seethes with disdain. "I despise this," she whispered, her voice laced with a deep, simmering frustration. "I know," Jasper said, his voice steady, "but you are doing great." Time stretched endlessly, each minute feeling like an eternity. Jasper moved with a determined precision, his hands steady as he applied pressure, expertly replacing the herbal poultice. He wrapped her leg in a coarse cloth. It sent a potent mix of pine and smoke, each movement charged with purpose. He exuded a serene confidence, each action measured and purposeful. His presence anchored her, a steadfast beacon in the encroaching shadows that threatened to engulf her, tugging relentlessly at the fringes of her sight. As the chaos began to fade, Jasper sank back onto his heels, his breath heavy and labored, and he wiped the sweat from his brow, feeling the weight of the moment settle around him. "We must find a way to get you to safety, and fast. Just a mile from this very spot lies my cabin, shrouded in mystery and waiting to reveal its secrets. I will bear you upon my shoulders." "You don't have to," Eleanor started, her voice barely a whisper as she struggled to lift her head. "I do," he said simply, his hands wrapping around her waist with an unexpected tenderness, lifting her effortlessly into the air. Her head nestled against his shoulder, the heat radiating from him enveloping her in an unexpected sense of solace. The forest raced by, a swirling tapestry of green and gold, interwoven with the sharp sting of pain. As they navigated the dense thicket, Eleanor struggled to keep her eyes open, each step a battle against the encroaching darkness. Jasper's steps echoed through the silence, a steady pulse in the stillness, each footfall resonating like a heartbeat in the dark. She tuned into it, her attention unwavering, allowing it to lead her away from the chaos and into an unexpected realm of trust. In the shadowy depths of the woods, a hawk's piercing cry echoed through the trees. The wind murmured secrets as it danced through the treetops, weaving a tale of nature's mysteries. In the embrace of Jasper, Eleanor surrendered to the darkness, her eyelids fluttering shut as the world around her faded away. Not in surrender, but in a delicate flicker of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she would survive this day. The cabin loomed like a phantom through the dense trees, a humble wooden structure nestled against the land's rise, shrouded in ferns and cloaked in shadows. Jasper thrust the door open with his shoulder, urgency coursing through him as he cradled Eleanor in his arms, her weight both delicate and pressing against him. He placed her softly on a cot draped in coarse wool blankets, then sprang into action with a deftness born of experience. There was no room for comfort. Only the instinct to survive drove them forward. The silence was palpable, a void where the hum of machines once thrived, leaving only the darkness to envelop everything. The air was thick with tension, punctuated only by the crackling flames dancing in the stone hearth and the uneven, ragged breaths escaping Eleanor's lips. He ground the dried herbs in the mortar, their essence releasing into the air as he sprinkled them into the pot of boiling water over the crackling fire. The aroma surged upward, sharp and medicinal, a bitter promise of what was to come. As the tincture simmered, he hurried back to her side, anxiously examining the swelling on her leg. It had spread further, the veins darkening ominously around the wound. She stirred, her face ghostly, glistening with beads of sweat. Jasper stood at the edge of the world, the weight of destiny heavy on his shoulders. Her voice hung in the air, a fragile whisper that seemed to dance on the edge of silence. A searing pain courses through me. I know, he said, his voice a low, steady murmur that hung in the air, thick with unspoken tension. I am crafting something that will make a difference. Remain motionless. She whispered a barely audible word, lost in the shadows of her agony, then recoiled as another surge of pain crashed over her like a relentless tide. With careful hands, he grasped the cooled herbal paste, his heart racing as he delicately rewrapped the dressing around her wound. His touch was careful, deliberate, yet the sight of her suffering twisted something deep within him, igniting a storm of emotions he could scarcely contain. As the minutes stretched endlessly, Eleanor teetered on the edge of awareness, slipping in and out of a hazy oblivion. She whispered, disjointed fragments, her words tumbling out like scattered leaves, each one a glimpse into the shadows of her mind, where half-buried memories lay waiting to be unearthed. Jasper edged forward, his brow furrowed in concentration, desperate to grasp the unfolding mystery. My father, she whispered, her voice trembling with unspoken emotions. If I perish in this place, he'll unravel completely. Jasper's brow knitted in deep concentration. Who is your father? Helicopters will be dispatched. He always overreacts. He paused, his gaze piercing into her face, searching for a flicker of understanding. She appeared to be a figure, molded by a life of ease, her garments exuding luxury, her skin a delicate canvas marred only by the traces of dirt and sweat. That single sentence conjured an image, a privileged girl, probably from the bustling city, defiantly breaking free from a life that felt suffocatingly confined. She had likely ventured here seeking adventure, yearning to feel the pulse of life, and now she was facing the consequences. Yet, silence enveloped him, a heavy shroud that spoke volumes without a single word escaping his lips. Assumptions lurked in the shadows, ready to ensnare the unwary. He had to ensure her survival at all costs. The potion simmered, its vibrant colors swirling in a mesmerizing dance, beckoning with promises of untold power. Jasper reappeared, a steaming cup of the acrid brew in hand, gently lifting her head as he urged the bitter concoction to her lips. Quench your thirst, though its flavor is far from pleasant. This concoction holds the power to purge the toxins lurking within. She complied with a feeble nod, harsh cough escaping her lips as the fiery liquid seared its way down her throat. The hours that followed melded into an indistinguishable haze. Jasper knelt beside her, carefully changing her bandage, his fingers gentle as they wiped the sweat from her forehead. Outside, the wind howled like a restless spirit, while within, the relentless ticking of time echoed, marking the fragile moments of her life as they danced on the edge of danger. But that was merely an illusion. As the clock inched toward midnight, her breathing shifted, taking on a new rhythm. It lay there, barely skimming the surface. Ease up, Eleanor, he whispered gently. Eleanor, awaken. Silence hung in the air, heavy and suffocating, as the anticipation built. The absence of a reply felt like a void, an unspoken tension that crackled with unfulfilled expectations. What lay behind that silence? A storm of thoughts, a whirlwind of emotions, waiting to break free. The moment stretched, each second echoing with the weight of uncertainty, leaving hearts racing, and minds racing faster still. Greetings! Gaze upon me, he shouted, his voice rising with urgency as panic seeped into every word. Hurry up, the journey is far from over. She released a shuddering breath, and then silence enveloped her. Curse it all. Jasper sprang into action, tearing back the blanket and pressing his ear against her chest. Silence hung in the air, a stillness so profound, It felt as if time itself had paused. No breath stirred. Only the weight of anticipation lingered, thick and palpable. Her pulse flickered like a dying ember, teetering on the edge of oblivion. Without a moment's pause, he launched into CPR, his determination palpable in the air. Pressure, inhalations, pressure. His hands pressed against her sternum, a blend of skill honed through relentless training and a raw urgent need. Hurry up, you will not meet your end in my cabin. Do you understand me? He snarled, his teeth clenched tightly together. One more breath. Push harder, deeper with urgency. Sweat trickled down his neck, a relentless reminder of the tension that hung in the air. The firelight danced erratically, throwing eerie shadows that writhed across the cabin walls, as if the very forest outside were poised in a tense silence, waiting for something to unfold. Eleanor. His voice erupted into the air, a fierce cry that pierced through the silence. Inhaled deeply. Her body convulsed violently, and a sharp gasp escaped her lips as her eyes flew open wide with shock and terror. She gasped, the air slipping through her throat like sand, her hands thrashing wildly until he grasped them with a tender touch. Easy, 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 you're back, he murmured, his voice trembling with a mix of relief and emotion. In this moment, you are enveloped in a cocoon of safety. Her gaze locked onto him, a whirlwind of terror and confusion swirling within her. I stood at the edge of the world, the wind howling around me like a restless spirit. The horizon stretched endlessly, a canvas painted with the hues of twilight, beckoning me to step forward into the unknown. My heart raced, each beat echoing the thrill of adventure that pulsed through my veins. Shadows danced in the fading light, whispering secrets of what lay beyond. With a deep breath, I took a step, ready to embrace whatever fate had in store for me. I found myself unable to do it. All at once, the world was swallowed by darkness. All at once, the world was swallowed by darkness. Jasper's voice cut through the silence, a lifeline in the darkness. You stopped breathing, he said, urgency lacing his words. But I got you back. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she averted her gaze, a wave of shame washing over her, leaving her feeling exposed and fragile. I believed I possessed an unyielding strength. You are, he whispered, his voice barely breaking the silence. You are about to confront a force far greater than mere strength. He positioned himself next to her, captivated by the way her breathing gradually found its balance, her chest rising and falling in a delicate yet haunting rhythm. Her pulse throbbed faintly, a fragile rhythm that whispered of life, a presence that refused to fade. Outside, the wind twisted and turned, while the night deepened into an eerie silence. Within the dimly lit room, shadows danced around the flickering fire as two strangers sat in a heavy silence. One was on the brink of existence, a mere whisper of life, while the other stood sentinel, protecting that fragile spark with unwavering resolve. Sunlight poured through the small cabin window, illuminating the rough wooden floor with vibrant golden streaks that danced in the stillness. The air was thick with the earthy aroma of herbs and the faint, lingering tendrils of wood smoke, intertwining with the soft, rhythmic crackle of a fire nearing its end. Eleanor stirred beneath the blankets, her eyes fluttering open to a world that felt both hauntingly unfamiliar and vividly tangible. For a fleeting instant, the world around her faded, and she found herself lost in a haze, unable to grasp the reality of her surroundings. Then the pain in her legs surged back, a dull yet undeniable reminder, tethering her to the harsh reality she could not escape. With a sharp intake of breath, she propped herself up, pain flickering across her features as her gaze swept the surroundings. The room, though sparse, radiated a comforting warmth that enveloped anyone who entered. The air was thick with the earthy scent of dried leaves and roots, as shelves groaned under the weight of glass jars filled with nature's secrets. Tools lay in meticulous order, each one a promise of transformation, while a chaotic pile of books in the corner whispered tales of ancient wisdom, waiting to be uncovered. It was raw and untamed, yet held an undeniable warmth that wrapped around the soul. Her eyes locked onto Jasper, who sat in stillness at a table by the flickering hearth, diligently grinding something in a mortar, his brow etched with deep focus. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice a fragile echo in the dim light. He lifted his gaze, a serene composure masking the tension that thrummed beneath the surface. "You startled me," he said, his voice laced with surprise. "But yes, you did it." Eleanor blinked, her gaze locked onto him, searching for the truth behind his words. "How long have I been unconscious?" 2 days. The fever broke last night. You are making remarkable progress. All things considered." She collapsed into the pillows, her mind racing to make sense of it all. "I can hardly fathom that I'm still breathing, and that you managed to save me with nothing but leaves and roots." Jasper offered a subtle nod, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. Nature gives us what we need, if we know how to look. His presence was a calming force, a steady anchor in the swirling chaos around them, radiating a quiet, grounded energy that drew others in. Eleanor observed him as he moved, each gesture deliberate and methodical, drawing her deeper into the unfolding scene. He was a mystery, a force of nature, unlike anyone she had ever encountered before. In her world, time raced forward, every moment meticulously planned, and every second accounted for. Jasper moved with a cadence that was uniquely his, each step a deliberate note in a symphony only he could hear. In the days that followed, Jasper cared for her with a tender touch, his actions deliberate yet unassuming. He crafted herbal teas that lulled her into a peaceful slumber, simmered soups from foraged greens and wild mushrooms, and prepared poultices that eased the throbbing swell of her leg. Eleanor, her strength waning, found herself captivated by the forest beyond the window. She spent her days immersed in its whispers, the wind weaving tales through the trees, and engaging in fleeting conversations with Jasper whenever he chose to share his presence. Though he was naturally reserved, a flicker of trust ignited within him, and he began to share his thoughts, each word a careful step into the unknown. She discovered that he had once served as a military medic in the army. He had witnessed horrors in war that haunted him, leaving scars that etched themselves deep within his very soul. Haunted by the loss of a comrade, a brother in arms, Jasper turned his back on it all. The bustling city, the ties of family, the relentless clamor of life. He acquired a secluded plot of land on the edge of the forest, pouring his heart and soul into constructing the cabin with his own hands. Eleanor found herself entranced, not merely by his tale, but by the essence of him, his quiet strength, his unwavering spirit, and above all, the silent kindness that seemed to illuminate every gesture he made. After years of turmoil, a gentle stillness began to unfurl within her, not extinguished, but tenderly muted. "You're not what I expected," she remarked one morning, her voice barely above a whisper as she sat outside the cabin, cocooned in a blanket while Jasper swung the axe, sending splinters flying in the crisp air. His eyebrow arched in silent question, a flicker of intrigue dancing in his gaze. "What were you hoping for?" "I don't know. A wild mountain man indeed." He offered a faint smile, his eyes glinting with unexpected wisdom. "That's a courteous way of implying I'm ancient." "I never claimed that." "You thought it," she laughed, her voice echoing in the silence, a sound that jolted them both from their thoughts. Days had slipped by without the sound of laughter, the tranquil rhythm they had found together now shattered in an instant, one fateful late afternoon. Eleanor lay in the cabin, drifting in and out of slumber, when a sudden noise jolted her awake. A deep rustling, the unmistakable crack of leaves, something massive pushing through the underbrush just outside the clearing. With her heart pounding in her chest, she sat up and cautiously made her way to the window. A shadowy figure loomed in the underbrush, a black bear, its sleek fur glistening in the dappled sunlight, a silent sentinel of the wild. It loomed large, moving slowly along the tree line, its nostrils flaring as it sampled the scents of the forest. It glided forward with a deliberate curiosity, its head swaying gently as if drawn by an unseen force. Eleanor's breath hitched in her throat. The bear drew nearer, its presence looming ominously in the shadows. She recoiled, her foot catching on a stool, sending her crashing to the ground with a jarring thud. The sudden crash jolted the bear, sending it into a frenzy of alertness. It halted, its ears perked, attuned to the slightest sound in the stillness. Eleanor lunged for the door, but suddenly halted, gripped by an icy terror that held her in place. Suddenly, Jasper emerged from the shadows of the trees, a bundle of firewood balanced effortlessly on his shoulder, his presence commanding the clearing with an air of purpose. He caught sight of the bear. The wood fell from his grasp, clattering to the ground with a resonant thud, his posture transformed in an instant, exuding a calm yet commanding presence. "Stay inside," he warned Eleanor, his voice a low, commanding whisper that sent a shiver down her spine. With a subtle nod, she slipped behind the doorframe, her heart racing as she peered through the narrow crack. Jasper crept toward the fire pit, his heart pounding as he reached for the tin pan, the flickering flames casting eerie shadows around him. With deliberate precision, he struck it against a metal pot, unleashing a thunderous clatter that echoed through the air. He remained silent. He stood his ground, unwavering. A steady, pulsating sound echoed through the air. The bear paused, its massive frame silhouetted against the fading light, before it slowly pivoted and vanished into the shadows of the dense forest. The trees engulfed it completely, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, pulling it into their shadowy embrace. Jasper held his breath, waiting for the last echo of footsteps to fade into the distance before he finally lowered the pan, the tension in the air palpable. His gaze drifted toward the cabin, where Eleanor's ghostly face emerged from the shadows, and he offered a solitary nod. Once she regained her breath, she whispered, "I understand the art of fear, wielding it without allowing it to dictate my fate." She observed him in quietude, her heart racing with an intensity that was both thrilling and bewildering. How could a mere stranger evoke such a profound sense of safety, a feeling she had never known before? The days that followed unfolded with a hushed, almost reverent cadence. Eleanor lingered, not out of necessity. She could walk now, the swelling in her leg nearly vanished, but because a transformation was stirring deep within her, beckoning her to stay. After years of turmoil, she finally found a moment of tranquility, each breath she inhaled in the depths of the woods unraveling the tightly wound knots that had burdened her soul for far too long. With a spark of determination in her eyes, she turned to Jasper and asked if he would be willing to teach her. Initially, a look of astonishment crossed his face. "What is it that you wish to learn? How do you survive like this?" she asked, her voice laced with a mix of curiosity and desperation. "How can one discern the healing leaves from those that bring death? How to exist without relying on anything beyond oneself?" He gave a single, resolute nod, as if sealing a pact with fate. With the dawn's light breaking through the trees, they set out each morning, pushing the boundaries of their familiar world, venturing a little farther from the safety of the cabin. Jasper guided her through the intricate dance of nature, revealing the hidden secrets of the forest. He showed her how to discern the delicate distinctions between the deadly and the healing, to trace the paths of creatures that roamed the wild. She learned to attune her senses to the whispers of the woods, the soft crunch of a deer's hoof on the forest floor, the sharp caw of a crow echoing a warning. Eleanor took it all in, her mind razor-focused, her heart wide open. In that moment, everything else faded away. There was only raw honesty between them. Stripped of all distractions, she was oblivious to the tangles in her hair and the grime on her hands. Jasper refrained from probing into her past, and she remained tight-lipped, guarding her secrets like a fortress. In that fleeting instant, reality enveloped them, pulsating with a vividness that eclipsed the sterile confines of any boardroom or the opulence of a luxury apartment. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows through the trees, they made their way back to the cabin, their arms laden with the fruits of their labor from the day's foraging adventure. Jasper trudged through the dense underbrush, a small basket cradled in his arms, filled with the earthy scent of roots and mushrooms. His voice, low and steady, wove a tale of how the very soil beneath their feet shaped the strength of the herbs he sought, each word laced with the weight of ancient knowledge. Eleanor leaned in, laughter bubbling up as he shared the tale of how he had confused wild ginger with its deceptive twin, a mistake that had led to a week of relentless stomach pain. As they neared the steps leading to the porch, Jasper's foot snagged on a treacherous loose stone. He stumbled, the basket slipping from his grasp, and crashed heavily onto the wooden steps. Eleanor dashed to Jasper's side, her heart racing with urgency. He winced, struggling to push himself upright. "I'm fine. Just might have twisted something, that's all." "Don't move," she commanded, her voice cutting through the air with an intensity that surprised even her. She knelt beside him, her hands trembling slightly as she examined him, the weight of concern heavy in the air. "You could have hit your head," she whispered, her voice laced with urgency. His ankle throbbed with a growing swell, while a crimson stream trickled from the scrape on his forearm, painting a stark reminder of his perilous situation. "I've seen worse," Jasper said, forcing a half-smile that barely masked the turmoil beneath. "I have not," she replied, her throat constricted, each word a struggle against the weight of her unspoken fears. "But I refuse to." With determination coursing through their veins, they worked in unison to pull him through the threshold. Eleanor meticulously cleaned the wound with water and a pristine cloth, recalling the tender care he had shown her just days prior. She discovered the poultices he had crafted, her hands deftly imitating his technique, as she wrapped his arm with a gentle yet deliberate touch, infusing each movement with care and tenderness. The roles had shifted, yet her gratitude lingered, now more profound, entwined in an unspoken complexity she was not prepared to confront. As darkness enveloped the world outside, and the flickering flames cast dancing shadows, Eleanor settled beside Jasper, her gaze fixed on him as he drifted into a gentle slumber. His face lay in a tranquil repose, the harsh lines of worry and suffering gently blurred by the embrace of sleep. She traced the lines etched around his eyes, the silver strands woven through his hair, and the quiet strength he bore, as if it were an inseparable part of him. Something had shifted in the air, a subtle change that whispered of transformation. What had begun as a mere struggle for survival had blossomed into an unshakable trust, and from that trust, something deeper emerged, gentle yet undeniably powerful. She reclined in the chair, her voice barely a whisper as it danced through the shadows of the room. "I was destined to be here." Jasper stirred, yet remained in slumber, while Eleanor, her heart brimming and still mending, sensed a spark igniting within her, a revival not just of her body, but of something deeper, something elusive and profound. The morning sun spilled through the trees, casting elongated shadows that danced across the cabin floor, stirring Eleanor from her slumber before Jasper could even stir. She stirred awake on her cot, attuned to the gentle cadence of his breath drifting from across the room. The tranquility of the forest coursed through her veins, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. Her leg was nearly healed now, strong enough to navigate the woods without a wince, yet with each passing day, the weight of the outside world bore down more heavily against the silence she had grown to treasure. Eleanor rose to her feet, enveloping herself in the worn flannel shirt that Jasper had gifted her, and ventured out into the world beyond the door. The morning air was crisp and vibrant, filled with the melodic calls of birds perched high in the treetops, while glistening dew clung to the blades of tall grass like tiny jewels. She drifted to the brink of the clearing, her mind a chaotic web of thoughts. The moment had arrived. For days she felt the weight of her secret pressing down, knowing she could no longer linger in the shadows of the towering pine trees and vibrant wildflowers. Jasper had to uncover the truth that lay hidden in the shadows. She was bound to him by a debt that ran deeper than mere obligation. As the morning light filtered through the trees, she discovered him by the fire pit, his focus unwavering as he meticulously sharpened a knife, each stroke deliberate and precise. His expression remained a mask of tranquility, impenetrable and enigmatic. She perched next to him, her heart racing wildly. "I have something important to share with you," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. He stole a glance at her, feeling the heavy significance of her words settle in the air between them. "Continue." With a deep breath, she steeled herself for what lay ahead. "In a world where shadows whisper secrets, I am known as Eleanor Hartwood. My father, Harrison Hartwood, stands at the helm of Hartwood International, a titan in the business world." Her gaze was locked onto the flickering flames, each crackle and pop drawing her deeper into the dance of the fire. "I am his sole offspring, destined to inherit the legacy that looms over me." Jasper placed the knife on the table, its blade glinting ominously in the dim light. His silence was deafening, a palpable tension that conveyed more than words ever could. Eleanor pressed on, her voice unwavering despite the turmoil within her. My heart was bound to Sebastian Thorne, a promise of forever lingering in the air. Born into the world of towering skyscrapers and sprawling estates, he stood at the center of a wedding that pulsed with ambition, where the vows exchanged were mere whispers beneath the roar of empire building. I never desired it. It was never my desire to be caught in this web. It wasn't the life I envisioned, nor the name I never truly claimed, and certainly not the spotlight that eluded me. Her gaze locked onto his, a silent storm brewing between them. 3 weeks before the wedding, I fled. I packed a bag, silenced my phone, and vanished into the shadows of the one place I believed would keep me hidden from the world. The wilderness, Jasper murmured, his voice barely breaking the stillness of the air. With a subtle tilt of her head, she acknowledged him. All I craved was a moment to inhale deeply, to reconnect with the essence of my being when the world faded away. Silence enveloped him, stretching out like a taut string, as he remained lost in thought. So why reveal this to me at this moment? My trust in you runs deep, and I understand the power it holds to transform everything. Jasper's gaze pierced through her, revealing the tempest swirling within his eyes. Then he uttered a revelation that took her completely by surprise. It does not alter the essence of your being. Not to me. Eleanor's eyes fluttered open, a moment of disbelief washing over her. Is that so? You remain the fierce woman who battled against the odds, the one who chuckled at my worn-out jokes and shed tears when I stumbled and twisted my ankle. The forest remains indifferent to your lineage, and so do I. Emotion surged within her, a tempest ready to break free, but before she could utter a word, a low rumble shattered the silence, the unmistakable thump-thump of helicopter blades slicing through the air. Eleanor's eyes widened in disbelief as Jasper stood tall, his gaze sweeping across the vast expanse of the sky. No, she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence that enveloped them. He pivoted towards her, his gaze intense and searching. Did you leave any trace for them to follow your path? No, I didn't do anything at all. She halted, her breath snagged in her throat, a device that captures the secrets of the wild. As I moved forward, I caught a glimpse of one just before the sharp pain of a bite seized me. It's possible that my face was the spark that ignited it all. The sound intensified, drawing nearer with each heartbeat. In mere moments, a sleek black helicopter swooped down into the clearing, its powerful blades whipping the tall grass into submission. Dust and leaves whirled into the air, dancing in a chaotic ballet of nature's breath. Eleanor raised her arms to protect herself as figures in dark suits erupted from the shadows, some clutching radios, others urgently shouting her name. Miss Hartwood? Eleanor, we were terrified, lost you forever. One of them surged ahead, unmistakably taking the lead. Your father has been consumed by worry. For days, search teams have scoured every inch of the terrain. Eleanor's heart raced, each beat echoing in her ears. She gazed at Jasper, his expression set like stone, an impenetrable mask that revealed nothing yet felt miles away. You're leaving, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, laden with a mix of disbelief and sorrow. This was never part of my design. Her voice trembled as she replied, tears glistening in her eyes. I yearned to remain hidden, shrouded in the shadows of my own making. The man advanced, each step echoing with intent. We must leave now. Your father awaits your arrival. The press stands poised, anticipation crackling in the air, eager for a statement to break the silence. I need a minute, she snapped, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. He nodded, retreating into the shadows, leaving her and Jasper suspended in a fragile bubble of dwindling tranquility. With a swift motion, she pivoted towards him, her fingers stretching out to grasp his hand. I stand at the precipice, heart racing, unwilling to take that final step away. He tightened his grip on her fingers, a soft yet firm connection that spoke volumes. Yet, it is a necessity. I am an outsider in that realm. You do, he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. Perhaps one day you will uncover the path that leads you to belong in both worlds. Her voice trembled, breaking the silence like glass shattering on the floor. What if I desire neither? Jasper's gaze locked onto hers, a silent intensity crackling between them. In that moment, you must choose what truly holds significance, not due to the act of running, but because you are making a choice. Hot tears streamed down her cheeks. "Will you hold on for me? I don't venture far," he remarked, a subtle smile playing on his lips. "You know the path that leads to me." As the helicopter ascended into the sky, Eleanor's gaze fell upon the cabin nestled among the trees, her heart racing as she spotted Jasper, a solitary figure frozen in the clearing below. With a trembling hand, she pressed against the cold glass, her heart racing as she watched him diminish beneath the looming machine, swallowed by its relentless ascent. A fragment of her heart lingered with him, entwined in the silence, shrouded in smoke, buried deep within the earth. The remnants of her past surged back, pulling her into the cacophony of a world she had fought desperately to leave behind. The city pulsed with an otherworldly energy, as if it belonged to a realm far beyond the familiar. As Eleanor emerged from the helicopter onto the rooftop helipad of the Heartwood International headquarters, the world exploded around her. Flashing cameras captured her every move. Security teams stood vigilant, and staff members in sharp suits bustled about, all while the distant hum of traffic below created a chaotic symphony of urban life. She blinked under the glaring sky, the scent of pine and smoke lingering on her skin. The cacophony, the relentless rhythm, the overwhelming burden of it all coiled tightly in her stomach. As she stepped into the penthouse suite, a wave of emotions washed over her. There, in the heart of the opulent space, her father lay in a hospital bed, the sterile white sheets contrasting sharply with the lavish surroundings. He had been moved to this office, a sanctuary of comfort and familiarity, but the gravity of the situation hung heavy in the air. Harrison Heartwood appeared smaller than she recalled, a figure reduced not just by the ravages of illness, but by the weight of years spent bearing the burden of an empire. "Eleanor," his voice trembled with raw emotion. "You returned." She settled beside him, her fingers intertwining with his in a tender grasp. "I had no choice but to act." "You had the world in chaos," he said, his voice a low, raspy chuckle that echoed with dark amusement. "Your sudden disappearance sent shockwaves making headlines around the world." "I understand," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath, "but I had to vanish to discover who I truly am." His gaze locked onto hers, piercing through the surface, as if he were discovering her for the very first time. "I need you to take over, Eleanor," he said, urgency lacing his voice as the weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. "This company was forged in the fires of my ambition, crafted with you in mind. Every moment, every negotiation, every sleepless night, every sacrifice weighed heavily on her heart, all for the hope that you would never know the taste of struggle." She swallowed hard. "Dad, I understand the weight this company carries for you. I admire the world you've created, yet I cannot transform into the person you desire me to become. You have no idea how brutal this world can be when the lights go out," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. "I do," she replied, her voice steady yet filled with an unspoken weight. "In the absence of electricity, I discovered a profound tranquility that I had never known before." He attempted to protest, but her fingers wrapped around his hand with a tender grip. "I refuse to turn my back on the family. I refuse to transform into a version of myself that I never intended to become." The following days unfolded in a whirlwind of meetings, tantalizing offers, and relentless media speculation. Eleanor held her composure, a steady resolve flickering in her eyes. She delved into the depths of her inheritance, scrutinizing her holdings with a keen eye, contemplating the weight of the role that awaited her. Suddenly, she took decisive action, redirecting her assets with purpose. A new trust emerged, dedicated to the noble cause of forest conservation. A fund was born, aimed at empowering underprivileged youth through environmental education. With unwavering resolve, she began donating substantial portions of her fortune to wilderness rescue services, igniting a movement that would change lives and protect the wild. The very individuals who could one day become her saviors. Fury crackled in the air as the board members glared at one another, their faces twisted with anger. The press found themselves in a whirlwind of confusion. Yet, in that moment, Eleanor's conviction surged like a tidal wave, and then the press conference loomed ahead. Before her lay a vast expanse of cameras, each one capturing her essence, her image flickering on screens, her voice ready to resonate with millions. Her hair was swept back with effortless grace, and her attire, though modest, exuded an air of quiet elegance. She stood alone, stripped of the usual trappings. No PR handler, no teleprompter, just her, raw and unfiltered. Just her, raw and unfiltered. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of anticipation. "Whispers swirl around my disappearance, my unexpected return, and the uncertain path that lies ahead with Heartwood International." She halted, drawing in a deep breath. For years I tread a path laid out long before I could even take my first steps. I walked the hallowed halls of the finest schools, donned the most fashionable attire, and exchanged firm handshakes with the influential. The camera snapped relentlessly, capturing every fleeting moment. Whispers danced through the air, weaving an intricate tapestry of secrets that filled the room. 3 weeks ago, I found myself adrift in the untamed expanse of the Oregon wilderness. I came perilously close to death. In that moment of despair, it was not the cold grip of technology or the hollow comforts of privilege that pulled me back from the brink. It was a man, a humble soul who embraced simplicity, who truly grasped the profound worth of life beyond mere profit. He whispered, a truth that echoed in my mind. "We are defined not by our possessions, but by the things we hold dear and strive to safeguard." Her voice surged with newfound strength. "I am relinquishing my role in any executive capacity at Heartwood International. I refuse to take the helm of the company. The throne, a burden I never sought, will not be mine to bear. Instead, I have made the resolute choice to devote my life to a cause I hold dear, safeguarding the natural world that once rescued my own existence." The air was thick with disbelief as reporters collectively inhaled, their eyes wide with shock. Some rose to their feet. Others unleashed a barrage of questions. Eleanor raised her hand, a silent command that cut through the tension in the air. "A substantial part of my inheritance has been channeled into a foundation dedicated to safeguarding our forests, nurturing the minds of future generations, and supporting daring wilderness rescue missions. My feet will never cross the threshold of that boardroom again. My destiny awaits beyond these familiar shores. Nearer to the ground, and nearer to the individual, I finally transformed into." The air hung heavy with an unsettling stillness. For the first time, perhaps in her entire life, Eleanor felt the exhilarating rush of freedom, unshackled from the weight of others' expectations. She was laying bare the unvarnished truth. After the conference, with the chaos swirling behind her like a tempest, she slipped into a hushed hallway, seeking refuge from the relentless gaze of the cameras. She pressed her back against the cool wall, surrendering to the darkness behind her eyelids. Her mind drifted to Jasper. She envisioned the firelight flickering against the cabin walls, the fragrant aroma of herbs wafting through the air, and the soothing cadence of his voice breaking the silence. With a resolute heart, she embraced her decision, knowing that the journey back home awaited her. The forest embraced her like a long-lost companion, the rich aroma of damp moss enveloping her senses, the gentle murmur of the wind weaving through the majestic pines, and the uneven crunch of the earth beneath her boots echoing with each step she took. Memories surged back to Eleanor, flooding her mind like a gasp of air after an agonizing wait. Her backpack felt almost weightless, yet her heart bore the crushing weight of anticipation, brimming with hope that pulsed like a living thing within her. She chose silence, leaving no message in her wake. She yearned to go back to the moment she had first come, a surprise that felt true and unfiltered. The trail felt like an old friend, yet the rugged terrain continued to test her resolve. With each step, she navigated the terrain with precision, her mind echoing the landmarks Jasper had once illuminated for her. The cedar leaned precariously, its branches whispering secrets to the wind. The rock, jagged and forked, stood as a sentinel of time, while the fallen logs sprawled across the ground, resembling a bridge to another world. With every step, she felt the distance between them shrink, drawing her nearer, ever nearer to him. The cabin emerged from the encroaching darkness as the sun sank beneath the trees, its fading light stretching eerie shadows across the clearing. Smoke twisted languidly from the chimney, while the garden Jasper had nurtured flourished with untamed greens and fragrant herbs, a testament to his care and dedication. Her heart raced wild as she crossed the threshold into the clearing. A sense of anticipation hung in the air. Within the dimly lit cabin, Jasper hurriedly packed his belongings, the air thick with tension and anticipation. His possessions were scant, yet each movement he made was slow and deliberate, as if every action held a weight of significance. He paused intermittently, his gaze sweeping the room as if he were etching every detail into his memory, despite the fact that it was a space he had crafted with his own hands. The silence enveloped the room, a heavy shroud that pressed down on everything since Eleanor's departure. Each time his gaze drifted to the winding path that vanished into the woods, a flicker of hope ignited within him, a hope that she would emerge from the shadows. But she never did, until now. A gentle knock reverberated through the wooden door, a sound that seemed to hold secrets waiting to be unveiled. Jasper stood motionless, his eyes locked onto the object before him, a wave of disbelief washing over him. For a fleeting instant, he wondered if it was merely a mirage conjured by his deepest desires. But then, another knock echoed through the silence, stronger this time, more certain, sending a shiver down the spine. With a determined stride, he navigated the room, his hand gripping the doorknob as he yanked the door wide, revealing the unknown beyond. There she stood, cheeks flushed and eyes shimmering with unspoken feelings, the familiar flannel shirt cinched around her waist, her hair dancing wildly in the breeze. Eleanor surged forward, her impatience palpable, refusing to give him the chance to utter a single word. With a surge of emotion, she stepped forward and enveloped him in a tight embrace, her face pressing into the warmth of his chest. Jasper stumbled, his balance wavering, but he reached out just in time to catch her. His arms encircled her with a fierce intensity, as if they had been yearning for this moment through all of time. Her voice trembled as she leaned in, whispering into the fabric of his shirt. "You not only rescued me from the brink, but you ignited a spark within me, a reason to embrace life once more." Jasper's grip around her tightened, a fierce determination radiating from him. He remained silent, the question of her return hanging heavily in the air between them. As she finally drew away, her hand lingering on his chest, she gazed up into his eyes, searching for something unspoken. "I believed that escaping my life was the only path to peace, yet I discovered a profound truth. The moment had arrived. A choice lay before me, heavy with consequence. This was my choice. You were the one I selected." He delved into her face, deciphering each unspoken word in her expression, uncovering every hidden truth in her silence. At last, he spoke, his voice heavy with unspoken thoughts. "I was just about to leave." Her brows furrowed in deep concentration. "Why?" "Because I believed I had lost something that was never truly mine to begin with. I couldn't linger in this place haunted by shadows." Her fingers brushed against his cheek, a soft caress that lingered in the air, charged with unspoken emotions. "Indeed, I'm no specter lingering in the shadows." "No," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "You are the most authentic presence that has ever stepped into my world." She smiled, even as tears threatened to spill from her eyes. "Then let's cease this retreat from one another." With a deliberate nod, he stepped aside, the door swinging open wide, inviting the unknown to cross the threshold. Then she stepped inside, leaving behind the burdens of the world at the threshold, embraced by the warm glow of the fire and the serene stillness of the life she had chosen. Not as a mere visitor this time, but as one who had returned to the embrace of home. That night, beneath a canopy of stars and the flickering glow of the fire, they sat shoulder to shoulder, enveloped in a profound silence. With no plans to bind them and no promises to weigh them down, they simply existed in the moment, fully immersed in the here and now. In that moment, for the first time in their lives, they realized that this was more than enough. As the months slipped by, the forest transformed, each season weaving its own tale into the tapestry of nature. The air was alive with the sharpness of fall, transforming the leaves into a breathtaking waterfall of amber and gold, each fluttering descent a whisper of the season's magic. Snow fell gently in the aftermath, enveloping the trees and casting a hush over the world, transforming it into a serene landscape of white. As spring unfurled its vibrant tapestry of wildflowers from the thawed earth, an even more extraordinary presence emerged, weaving itself into the very fabric of the season. Hope surged anew, not merely in the embrace of nature, but within the vibrant life that Jasper and Eleanor had forged together. They emerged from the shadows, forever changed, stepping into a world that was no longer the same. In a bold move, they beckoned the world to draw near, opening their doors to all who dared to enter. It all started with a spark, an idea that was both simple and profound, deeply anchored in a sense of purpose. A sanctuary where individuals could master the art of wilderness survival, embrace the profound strength and restorative essence of nature, and discover tranquility away from the chaos of urban life. Jasper possessed the wisdom, while Eleanor wielded the power of resources. In unison, they forged a creation that transcended ownership, a masterpiece that belonged solely to them, a testament to their shared journey. The Wild Haven Institute rose majestically in the very clearing where Jasper's old cabin once stood, now transformed and fortified. It became a refuge for souls yearning to rediscover their bond with the untamed beauty of the natural world. They presented captivating workshops that delved into the ancient art of herbal medicine, the essential skills for survival in the wild, and the profound responsibility of nurturing our environment. In the heart of the wilderness, where shadows danced among the trees, rescue teams honed their skills. Under Jasper's innovative methods, and fueled by Eleanor's unwavering support, they prepared for the unforeseen, ready to face the challenges that lurked in the depths of the forest. From the rugged trails to the bustling boardrooms, a diverse crowd gathered, hikers seeking adventure, students in search of knowledge, and weary corporate executives yearning for a respite from the relentless pace of modern life. Whispers traveled like wildfire, not through flashy advertisements or grand campaigns, but through the tales of those who ventured into the forest and emerged transformed. Whispers filled the air about the man who could identify every tree by its leaves, a figure shrouded in an aura of quiet wisdom that resonated in his silence. Then there was the woman, a force of nature with fire igniting her heart, who turned her back on a billion-dollar empire, not in defiance, but in a relentless quest for something far more sacred: the truth. Their love was subtle, a quiet force that whispered through the shadows, unadorned yet profound. It was evident in their synchronized movements, in the way Eleanor's laughter danced through the air with newfound freedom, and in the gentle warmth that enveloped Jasper's gaze whenever it fell upon her. Their shared footsteps resonated through the trails, a haunting melody of connection. Laughter danced in the air around the fire, weaving a tapestry of camaraderie with the volunteers. In the quiet of the morning, a profound silence enveloped them, where words were unnecessary, and understanding flowed effortlessly between them. Curiosity sparked in the eyes of visitors as they leaned in, eager to know, "Is it true, the tale of how you two first crossed paths?" Eleanor's smile was a beacon, and in that moment, I felt as though I had brushed against the edge of oblivion. Jasper would remark with a hint of sarcasm, "She was an awful patient," and their laughter would echo in the room. A laughter that echoes with the weight of unforgettable experiences, a sound born from the depths of life's most poignant moments. United in purpose, they guided others not merely in the art of survival, but in the profound journey of living fully and simply. As dusk settled in, painting the sky in hues of lavender and rose, Eleanor and Jasper would wander the trail behind their home. Hand in hand, their fingers intertwined like the roots of the ancient trees surrounding them, distinct yet forever bound together in an unbreakable bond. As twilight descended, they arrived at their cherished vantage point, a hill that commanded a breathtaking view of the valley below. The fading sunlight caressed the treetops, transforming them into shimmering gold, casting an enchanting spell over the landscape. Eleanor rested her head against Jasper's shoulder, seeking solace in his presence. "Will we ever return to the city again?" With a subtle nod, she acknowledged the weight of the moment. He fell silent for a heartbeat, then spoke, "Perhaps one day, if the need arises. But not because we are fleeing from anything," she said with a smile that held a hint of mystery. "We've stopped fleeing at last." "No," he conceded. "We stand exactly where fate has destined us to be." They stood in silence, their breath caught in their throats, as the sun sank behind the mountains, its last rays casting a warm amber glow over the forest, transforming the world into a realm of magic and mystery. The haunting calls of distant birds echoed through the air, weaving a tapestry of sound that beckoned the listener closer. A soft breeze whispered through the leaves, and in that fleeting instant, time itself seemed to pause. Eleanor turned to Jasper, her eyes shimmering like the vast expanse above. "You once whispered that I was fortunate to have you close at hand. It lingers in my mind. Fortune smiled upon me in ways I could hardly fathom." He extended his hand toward hers, his fingers wrapping around it with a tender grip. I felt the same way. In the depths of the forest that had once woven their fates together, Eleanor and Jasper stood shoulder to shoulder, two souls who had journeyed through peril and serendipity. They had not only survived but had unearthed something far more profound than they had ever dared to dream, an unbreakable bond, a sanctuary they could call home. In the most surprising twists of fate, we often find ourselves arriving precisely at the destination we were destined to reach. In the hushed embrace of the forest, where danger lurked in every shadow and solitude wrapped around them like a shroud, Eleanor and Jasper discovered more than mere survival. They unearthed a profound purpose, a serene peace, and a love that defined purpose, a serene peace, ignited their very souls. In the depths of their journey lies a powerful reminder. Healing can emerge from the most untamed corners of existence. When we summon the courage to embrace our truth, we often uncover a beauty far more profound than the shadows we once fled. If this tale resonated with your soul, ignited a spark within you, or wrapped you in a comforting embrace, we beckon you to become part of our community of listeners who cherish the magic of profound storytelling. Join us at soul-stirring stories to uncover more captivating true tales of resilience, love, and redemption that will leave you breathless. Narratives that mend the spirit and linger in your heart long after the final page is turned. We appreciate your time and attention. Until next time, stay curious. Until we meet again in the next tale.